Good morning. Thank you for joining this session today. Can you let me know that you can hear me okay and that you can see my screen? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, let's make a start. So this morning we are having our reading session, and these are our aims and outcomes: to be aware of ways to read and locate information, to be aware of different reading skills, to find information in a text using structural features. So you should use different reading skills on a regular basis, and you could use different reading skills all of the time. So that's our aims for today's session. So to start with, we have a video. So if you can't see or hear the video, if you just let me know as soon as you can.
Read and find information. There are many different reasons for reading. Think about it, we are reading all the time. Road signs, instructions, timetables, junk mail, text messages, adverts, for example. However, there are times when we must focus our reading skills so as to find information for a particular reason, sometimes in a short space of time. There are a few things to think about and strategies that we can use when finding information. Skimming and scanning reading techniques, using paragraphs and finding topic sentences to help, reading for detail, being able to concentrate and read carefully. Let's start with skimming and scanning. Skimming and scanning are fast reading techniques that can help you to read quickly, decide if the text is interesting and whether you should read it in more detail, obtain the gist of a piece of text, i.e., quickly identify its main ideas, find a key piece of information. Imagine you are choosing a magazine to buy. As you browse the shelf of possible magazines, your eyes quickly move over them all until you zoom in on the one that you want to take off the shelf for a better look. This is because your eyes have picked out that there are a few things that you would like to read about, such as an article on a famous singer that you like. This is skimming. You then pick up the text and flick through all the pages to find the article about the famous singer, and you scan this page quickly to see if it's all that was promised on that front page. This is scanning. How do you skim and scan read? Don't read the whole text word for word. Let your eyes move quickly until you find something you are looking for. Use picture or diagram clues to give you background information. Look at titles and headings. Use subheadings to find specific lists. Look for words written in bold. How is skimming different to scanning? Skimming is used to obtain the gist of a piece of text. Scanning is used to obtain specific information from a piece of text. Once you have skimmed and scanned, to find the piece of information you need, you then read for detail. What is reading for detail? Well, you should be sure about what you are looking for, and you should make sure that you read slowly and carefully. If you find it helpful, you can use a highlighter or underline keywords or phrases. Using paragraphs. We can use paragraphs to help with reading longer pieces of text. Writing is split into paragraphs to make it easier for the reader to make sense of things. Sometimes there are no subheadings to help us work out what information is where. Often, each paragraph has an opening sentence which will usually tell you what the paragraph is about. It's known as the topic sentence because it tells you the main points of the paragraph. When you are trying to get through text quickly, then just reading the first sentence of each paragraph can help you to see what the paragraph is about and then decide whether the paragraph is relevant to why you are reading or the information you are trying to find. And if you are reading a long piece of text, which is made up of, say, 5 long paragraphs, if you only need to read the first sentence of each, you will just be reading 5 sentences, but you will still have a good overall idea about the content of the whole piece of writing. If you find skimming, scanning and reading for detail difficult, then the best way to improve is to practice. Using these reading skills effectively can be difficult at first, but the more you skim and scan, the better you get at it. So, why do you need to be able to skim and scan and read for detail? Sometimes you have to do research to find information for a project of work or an assignment for a course. You may be given information that needs to be understood, such as an important letter or an announcement or something on which you need to act. You might also read to relax, for example, magazines or books, or to learn about a new hobby or interest. You need to know when it is appropriate to skim and scan read, but also when it is necessary to read more carefully and in a focused way.
Okay, so we've seen and heard there about these different reading skills that you will need to use when you're doing your level 2 reading test. So let's see if we can remember the definitions. So if you want to give an answer, just unmute yourself. So what is skimming? So if you read the definitions here, and which one describes skimming when you are reading?
Finding key information.
So that's not skimming, that's the other one, scanning. Okay, so they are closely related, of course.
Finding the gist.
Good. So finding the gist and scanning.
It's finding key information.
So if you were asked to find out, I don't know, find out something related to a particular word, or when did the Romans first come to Britain, for example, then you'd be scanning, looking for a date. Okay, so scanning's looking for a key information. So reading for detail, what's the definition of that?
It's reading slowly and carefully.
Excellent, good. The topic sentence, where would you find that, or what does it do? What does a topic sentence do?
Telling you about the paragraph, what the paragraph is all about. Again,
these two are very closely related. So what the definition you've given there is actually a subheading.
Okay.
So it tells you what the paragraph's about. The topic sentence would be the first sentence that tells you what that paragraph is about. So again, it's rather than a heading, it's actually in the paragraph, but they're very similar and they are closely related. Okay, well done. Let's just get rid of that. So when you are doing your level 2 functional skills reading, you need to be able to read and understand a range of document or text types. And the most common ones that are included are articles, letters, emails, reports, extracts from online forums and blogs. So when you are doing your test and you get the text that the questions will be about, it's likely to be one of these document types. And the different types of texts have different features, and you can use those to help you find the information that you need to answer the questions. So there's a list here of the features that you might see in different text types, such as a table of contents, subheadings, an index, menus, glossary, an appendix, tables, and text boxes. So you might see a mixture of those in different text types. So these are known as structural features, and I just want you to think about what type of text you might find these features in. So if you think about these text types, just have a quick read of those numbered text types, the list, and then we'll look again at the and you can think about which one of these text types you might find the structural features in. So a table of contents, what type of document or text would
It
you?
could be like articles or books, could be.
So a book or a report. So with an article, if you think where you might find an article in perhaps a magazine or a journal, they don't tend to have, well, they might have a contents page in a magazine, but it wouldn't be for that particular article. So, but a report, so if there's, I think at the moment, there's a lot about COVID. So the government, I presume, or not the government, but the COVID panel that are investigating at the moment, presumably at the end of all that process, they'll produce a report, which is going to be very long. So it would need a table of contents. Whereas an article is usually a shorter piece of writing that's found within a journal or a magazine. So the article itself would not have a table of contents. What about an index? So where might we see an index?
In a book.
Yeah, good.
Books.
Again, book and a report. Because some reports would be, so for example, I'm talking about the COVID investigation, it would be extremely long, so it would need an index. But most common one that most people would be most familiar with, just in a book. Think of a recipe book. You want to make something to eat tonight with chicken, you just go to the back of the index, don't you, and find that. So menus, where would you see a menu? So if you're looking at these text types, which one of those might have a menu?
A blog?
Yeah, so you might have a menu for a blog or a website. Good. A glossary?
Books.
Yeah. So books, reports, websites. Good. Appendix.
Books.
In a book.
Books as well.
In books.
A book. Any other types of text that might have an appendix?
Reports. Some reports do.
Yeah. Oh. So, yeah, reports. You might find them in a book. Also, sometimes an article might have an appendix as well. Subheadings.
Subheadings reports.
Reports.
Good. So all of them, really. All of those text types might, you're likely to see subheadings. And the last one, a text box.
Those are books.
So yeah, books, reports, articles,
Article.
websites, blogs. So a text box in a book, it's most likely to be in a non-fiction book. They're often used to highlight a key piece of information or to give additional information separately. So in an article, they might put a little bit of extra information separate to the rest of the text in a text box. Good. Okay. So we're going to practice now. So I want you to read the paragraph. So if you read it on your own device, just read it to yourself, and then we'll look at answering the question. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to read that. Okay. So the first question, how does motor oil pick up contaminants? So using the reading skills that we spoke about, you want to, the best method would be to scan for the word contaminants. And that sentence where you find contaminants is likely to give you the answer or help you to write your answer. So, can anyone answer that question? How does motor oil pick up contaminants?
If it is released into the society, into the
Use motor
environment.
oil that is released into the environment harm human, plants, animals, fish, and shellfish.
Okay, so let's scan for this word contaminants. So where do we find that word? Where does it first appear? Or
The first paragraph.
On the first line.
So it's on the first line. So how does motor oil pick up contaminants? Motor oil picks up a variety of hazardous contaminants when used in engines and transmissions. So you could actually just copy that sentence for your answer, or you could just write when it is used in engines and transmissions. Okay, so that's how it picks up the contaminants. Okay, so all that's asking you is for that information. So as I said, how does it pick up contaminants? You want to be scanning the text for that word, contaminants. And then that sentence is likely to be your answer. You need to think about the question and the sentence and check that makes sense as an answer, because sometimes you might need to put it more into your own words. But the key is using that scanning skill to find where contaminants is used in the text. Okay, so question 2, how does oil in water affect the environment? So again, we're scanning for oil, for the word environment possibly, but the main thing we're looking for is that word oil, because that's the focus of the question. How does oil affect the environment? So can anyone spot where the word oil is used, and it's used more than once, so we're going to need to choose the most appropriate part of the text to answer that question. So can anyone see where oil is used, and we can also find the answer to that question?
Oil is used is a visible pollutant.
Excellent, yes. So what does it do to the water?
It prevents it from sunlight and oxygen.
Good. So yeah, so we found oil and it tells us what it looks like, but the question is how it affects the environment. So well done. We need to go on to the next sentence to find the answer. So it stops sunlight and oxygen. So oil in water stops sunlight and oxygen from getting into the water, affecting fish and water plants. It can kill fish, frogs and other animals that breathe from the water's surface. Okay, so your answer is there in the text. Okay, so question 3, what can create airborne pollutants? So again, for this question, we've got our keywords there that we're going to scan for, airborne pollutants. So if you find those in the text, then you're going to find the information to answer it. So can anyone answer that question? What can create airborne pollutants?
Is a low temperature burning of the use of oil can create airborne pollution.
Good. So I'm really pleased that you stopped after that, because you don't need to put in the other information in that sentence. It only asks what creates airborne pollutants. It doesn't ask what damage they do. So you only need to write the first part of that sentence. Low temperature burning of used oil creates airborne pollutants. And that's all you need for your answer. So well done. So again, we've got another text here that I want you to read, and then we will look at the questions together. So if you finish reading before I ask us to share together, then have a look at the questions and see if you can find the answers in the text. Okay, so for this text, we can still use that scanning skill to find where the answer, which part of the text we will find the answer, but we're using another skill for these questions, because we can't just find the answer in directly what is written in the text. So for this text, we are going to be using our interpretation skills, or what we call inference. And inference is also described as reading between the lines. So you won't find the answer directly in what is written. You have to show your understanding of what's written by giving your answer. So you read what's there and you use that information to create a bigger picture. So what is the New Street Butchery? So we're going to be scanning for those 3 words, New Street Butchery. But we don't find the answer. It doesn't say the New Street Butchery is. So we need to use the information given to infer or to interpret what it actually is. So can anybody tell me the answer to that question?
It is a place for vegetarian.
It's a meat shop.
Okay, so the New Street Butchery, it's got a menu. So the menu is meat, meat and more meat. What type of
Restaurant.
place? It's a restaurant because it has a menu. Okay, so it's a bit of a trick, really. They want you to show that you truly understand what you have read. So that the New Street Butchery, your first thought would be that it is a butcher's shop.
Shop, yeah.
So they're checking that you've read this properly and that you've found that word menu to show that you understand fully. So it's not a butcher shop, it's a restaurant. Okay, so how does the writer rate the food? So this time we're going to have to skim to get the gist because there's no particular word that we can scan for. So does anyone want to have a go at answering that question? So you're going to have to use your own words to describe how the writer rates the food.
That it's a restaurant full of wealth of choices.
Good.
Though it's not perfect, but it is good.
Excellent. So yes, you could write exactly what you've written, or what you just said, or you could write something like the writer enjoyed the food. The writer thinks the food is good. He says it's not perfect, but it's good. Okay, so that shows that he enjoyed the food because he says it's good. Okay, so number 3. Why is the restaurant, and they've put a quote from the text here, so that's something we can scan for. Why is the restaurant no place for vegetarians?
Because it's the restaurant, its menu, it's meat and more meat.
Excellent, yes, well done. So you could even put that quote in. So why is the restaurant no place for vegetarians? Because the menu is meat, meat and more meat. You could even use quotation marks in your answer. That would be an excellent answer. Well done. Or you could write something like because the menu is full of meat dishes, or the menu is full of meat. There are no vegetarian options. Okay. Well done. So we've got one more here to read. So again, I'll give you a few minutes to read it. If you finish reading, then you can start looking at the questions. Okay, let's have a look at the questions. So number 1, why were firefighters called out? So can anyone answer that question?
The firefighters were called out to the Nottingham police station due to one of the detainees tampered with the room sprinkler head and caused considerable flooding.
Excellent. So a perfect answer. Okay, so you've used that top paragraph to describe exactly why the firefighters were called out. Well done. So question 2, how did the firefighters help? So what did the firefighters do when they were there to help?
The firefighters helped by isolating the water supply to the station, then helped to mop it up.
Excellent. Again, yeah, that's exactly what the assessor will be looking for. Good. So they did 2 things. They isolated the water supply and then they helped to mop up. Good. What happened to the detainee? And it's asked you there for 2 things. So you need to ensure that you describe 2 things that happened to the detainee.
The detainee was drenched and
Yep.
was charged with criminal damages.
Fantastic. Good. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that text or about the questions? No? Okay. Well done. So we're on to our quiz. So what is skimming? So if you use the skill of skimming, what are you doing?
Looking for key information.
Yeah, D. Well done.
D.
Finding the gist of a text. What is scanning?
A. Finding the key information.
So you've got a question about a firefighter. You're going to scan to see where that word firefighter is, and hopefully that's going to be where you find your answer. So the topic sentence in a paragraph is always first, gives detail and evidence, closes the paragraph, or gives the main idea of the paragraph.
Gives the main idea of the paragraph.
Main idea of the paragraph. Sorry.
Good. So it's usually the first sentence, but doesn't have to be. When would you need to read slowly and carefully?
When you need to find detailed information.
Excellent. Good. Okay. So well done, everyone. Some really good contributions today, which is really helpful for everybody. So thank you for that. If you go onto the Moodle, the online learning platform, then there are some questions and answers that you can download to practice those skills. And as the video told us, the best way to get better at using those different reading skills is to practice. So have a go at those. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we finish this morning?
Okay, I just have a quick one.
Yeah.
Like you said, we should go onto the website.
Yeah.
We will find some reading materials to practice with. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, so there's a question and answer. Let me see if I've still got it open because I'll show you.
Okay.
All right. So I'll just. Right, so it's asking me to, oh no, it stayed. So can you see here, I'm on the UK Versity Moodle there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've shared the right thing, just check. So this is our session today. So
Okay.
main points of text. When you got the Zoom invite, it tells you which session we've done today. So it will say that exact title for the session. So you'll be able to find that one. And then there's a knowledge check you can do, but there's also question and answers. I always recommend look at the questions on their own first, have a go,
Yeah.
and then look at the answers to check. And also if there's any that you struggled with, use the answer to help you understand why. Okay. So
Okay.
have a go at those.
Right.
Okay. All
Okay.
right then. So
Thank
if
you
you have
so
any
much.
problems logging in, you can contact the office. You won't be able to do that till Monday, but you can contact them and they can sort that out for you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All
So the
right.
office is closed today and tomorrow.
Yes. It's
Okay.
open Monday
Okay.
to Friday.
On Monday. All right.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you
Okay.
very much for your
All
time.
right. Thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
day,
All right.
everyone.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.